Right. Can everyone hear me all right?
Hello. Oh, God, that's loud. Sounded a bit like Terry Malloy then, didn't it?
It did. Well, welcome to the Quad this afternoon. And as I say, I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Peter Davison here today. How are you today, Peter? It's been a busy day, hasn't it?
It's been a very busy day, but I'm doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I had my first fish finger sandwich at lunchtime.
You had your first fish finger sandwich?
Derby delicacy. No.
Right. If I could just recently start by asking you about how you got into acting, what kind of led you down to that path, and was it something that you'd always wanted to do?
Well, I mean, I think as most kids do at some point, I remember thinking, oh, it'd be really great to be a movie star or a TV star, but that wasn't really the reason I did it. I got into sort of drama in the senior school, and I joined an amateur dramatic society, but I think I was probably destined to go to a sort of low-level university or a teacher training college, except that I very cleverly managed to fail all my exams, mainly through not doing any work, but probably from not being very bright. But and because of that, I was able to. My parents said, "Well, try for drama school." At that time, you didn't need any qualifications at all to get into drama school. So I applied, and I did a couple of auditions, and then got in by the skin of my teeth. And so it was almost by failure in other areas.
Right. What would you have done, do you think, if you'd not gone into acting, if that not happened?
Probably would have become a teacher or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I've always sort of written songs. So my other fantasy is I would have been a great songwriter, but my major success is Button Moon, so I don't know if that's going to work. So I don't know. Who knows what would have happened? As it turned out, I enjoyed the acting world, and it went very well. I'm asked this question in America a lot, whether it was intimidating following Tom Baker. It actually wasn't for me. I was intimidated by the first two doctors, who were my doctors. And I had grown up with older doctors, and I felt I was young. I kind of knew I was always going to say yes to it, but it was an intimidating thing to be offered, because I was much, much younger than anyone else who'd done it. And I loved the series. I grew up watching the series. So I just needed to adjust to it, I think, the idea of doing it. But it's not a part you can turn down. It really isn't. It's like being made, I said to Peter Capaldi a couple of months ago, it's like, did they make you an offer you couldn't refuse? And it is like that, no matter what your trepidation is. And he had, of course, the same trepidation, but in reverse, because he had been aware that, you had this tradition now of young doctors, and here he was an old doctor. But it is in the end an offer you just can't turn down.
When you got the part, how much input did you have into how you were going to play that, or anything like that? Did you have I think at one time you appeared on Pebble Mill, I think, one of your first appearances, and somebody said they mentioned you should play it in a certain way.
Yeah,
at that time.
Yeah. I think maybe the BBC thought I needed help. Yeah, they arranged this interview thing on Pebble Mill at one, where they got various people in to suggest how I might play it. And one person said, well, I think you should be like Tristan, but brave. And I think that was my blueprint for how I played the Doctor. But you are given no help at all. First of all, I didn't get any input into the costume. Although I was quite happy with the costume, I would have preferred a kind of more off-the-peg look. The other problem is not only are you given no help, you're pretty cast as the Doctor, and that is all the assistance you're given. Really, you are cast to make the character out of whatever you do. So it's not the easiest thing to deal with. And of course, also, the first 2 or 3 scripts you're doing were actually written for the previous Doctor. So I guess The Visitation, probably, and Four to Doomsday were actually written for Tom by the writers. And obviously Castrovalva was done very quickly for me, so there's a crossover one. So you're not given any help at all, really. You just have to find your way, tiptoe.
Looking back over it, do you feel that it was beneficial to record those stories out of sequence? Because you kind of wanted to do that so you kind of knew where you were going.
Probably. It wasn't an unusual thing in those days to do that. I don't know if they still do it or not. To give people, say, the third story you do is in fact the first one that goes out. But yes, it was probably helpful. I'm not entirely sure. Because you don't get, although it's, obviously you have 2 stories experience before the first time you're seen, On the other hand, you don't get to think it through in the way that you would do if you're doing the series in logical episodes. So I'm not entirely sure if it helped or not.
Right. Okay. And how did you feel that first series was? How did you feel by the end of it that it had gone for you and the interaction between the companions?
You're never entirely happy, whatever you do. I don't think I've ever done anything where I thought, yes, I've really cracked that. So you're always in a state of nervous apprehension about it. I was comforted by the fact that the companions seemed to like me more than Tom. I think they thought I was slightly nicer to them than Tom had been, apparently. I don't know, I wasn't there. So that was very nice. They were all very supportive. I don't know how I felt. To me, it was always not so much. This frustration with what I was doing was always superseded by the frustration with the problems of making the series. In those days you were in a situation where whichever union was playing up at the time, someone would videotape operators would either turn the machines off at 10 o'clock, or the lighting department would just turn the lights off. So you'd be halfway through a scene and everything would just go dunk, and all the lights would go out. So, it was very difficult if you got behind schedule to get back on schedule. That was the problem. We didn't have enough money. We were earning the BBC loads of money. None of it came back into our budget. In fact, every time we earned the BBC more money, the BBC would cut the budget, because their logic was, not only with our programme, with other programmes, the logic was if you've been successful with this amount of money, you can be just as successful next year with less. That was the way they looked at it.
Did you find that, when you were the Doctor, you had that period of time where obviously there were more companions in the TARDIS than at any other time, I would say. Was that difficult, do you think, that made it?
I don't know if it was difficult. I rather enjoyed it, but it may have been not the best thing. What tended to happen was we got divided up, so you were never with your more than one companion at a time. Certainly when Turlo came along, they had to lock him up all the time because he was trying to kill me. But usually it was one or other of the companions that I ended up being with.
And you said something earlier about your costume.
Yes.
What would you preferred it to have been? Do you think it was too literal? Was that the...
Yes, I would have preferred it to be... I came up with the idea of it being loosely based on a cricketing outfit, having a cricketing theme. A kind of cricket-loving Doctor, because it was a very English sport, slightly eccentric. I would have preferred to go into the Doctor Who closet, or whatever it is, and just pick things off the peg. So a more thrown together look.
Yeah.
But John was very much into a kind of designer look.
And how was it working with John? How was he to work with at the time?
I enjoyed it. I thought he was great. I said earlier, he loved the programme. He was devoted to the programme. I don't think he was particularly devoted to science fiction or Doctor Who as a kind of a concept. But he was, and he got amazing publicity for the show. But we had our disagreements, never badly. Never. It's difficult to explain. He would come to me with an idea, and I'd sort of fight against it. Right. But it would always be an amiable discussion.
Yeah.
The main thing we initially clashed over was jokes. He didn't want any jokes in it at all.
Do you think that was because of what Tom?
Yes, it was a sort of overreaction to Tom's time as the Doctor, where everything had turned into a joke, and I found some of the jokes very funny. But I understood what he meant. Even in the point of crisis, you're cracking jokes about jelly babies, and it gets a bit, Yeah. And John didn't like that. So every time we tried to put a joke in, he'd try and cut it out. Then we try and put it in again, and he'd try and cut it out. So, the Five-ish Doctors reboot. Yes,
Doctors reboot was possibly for me, I think, one of the highlights of last year, really. And it was. Did it evolve into something much bigger? Did it become bigger than what you originally started out?
Oh, much bigger. Yes, originally I'd done a couple of short films for a convention in Los Angeles, which I hadn't been able to attend, Gallifrey. And they had gone quite well. They'd been about 5 minutes each, I think, and I managed to lean on David Tennant to be in them. And he very kindly helped me out. And then they worked quite... So when the idea of, that we were asked continually for the last 3 or 4 years, well, were we going to be in the 50th anniversary special? I never thought for a moment that we were, any of us. So I foolishly said, I'm sure you've all read this, but I foolishly said at one point, well, if we're not going to be in the 50th anniversary special, I'm damn well going to make my own. And of course, being at a convention, someone was filming it. And then the next convention I turned up, and they said, oh, apparently you're going to make your own 50th anniversary special. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to make it now. So I thought I did have this little idea in my head, so I wrote it down, and it was maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and it included a scene down in Cardiff. And I asked Stephen Moffat if he'd do a little scene, and he said, yeah, sure. So I sent the script to the BBC, and then they rang me up and said, come down and see us, we want to be involved in this. So they very kindly gave me a little camera crew. It started off with literally one sound man and one cameraman, and that's all. So we did a bit of filming, and we had great help from people down in Cardiff. It gave me a bit of inspiration, so I just went about, I kept writing these scenes. So every time I sent the script to the people in Cardiff, they went, hello, this has got 4 scenes longer than the last time. I said, yeah, I just wanted to, it got longer and longer and longer. Eventually it was about sort of 40 minutes long. But we managed to film it, everything we wanted to film.
It's really good. There's some really great moments in it as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we, of course, I would be in fact the world's worst director because I wouldn't want to cut anything. Because after filming all this stuff, they then said to me at Cardiff, well, we think it should be about 15 minutes. Could you cut 20 minutes? So I said, no!
But it is coming out on DVD.
It's going to be out on DVD, yeah. And I did say at one point I might do a director's cut, but we won. I'm very proud of the fact that we won so many of the battles. I think about the editing that there really isn't any need for. We hardly cut anything really. A couple of little jokes, but I was all in all very happy with it. And when I finally went down, we had a really good editor and we cleaned it up very nicely, and I was very proud of it in the end.
Was there any ever intention to get Tom involved at all?
Yeah, no, I wrote a scene for Tom. Right. I did write a scene for Tom. I thought it was a rather nice little scene.
Right. Did he say no?
No, I met him at we had the launch of the stamps, last year, and I said to him, of course, when you're face to face with me, he's very affable. Yeah. So I said to him, I've written this little scene for you, would you do it? He goes, oh, yeah, the war's making boy, I'll do it. That's fine. And it was rather good, but it was a scene where, much like in the Five-ish Doctors repeat, we ring him up,
yes,
except he answers the phone. And then he says, oh, how nice to hear from one of my lesser selves. And then Colin starts to explain, what it is we want to do, and he just puts the phone down on the table and pours himself a glass of wine and takes a sip of wine, and then you cut back to Colin still talking about what it's, how this thing is going to be. And he takes the wine, and then he picks up the phone and he goes, terribly sorry, my dear boy, I just can't be asked. Anyway, I sent him that scene, and I heard absolutely nothing from him. I was doing an episode of something. What was it? Oh, that thing in the West Indies, that. Death in Paradise. I was doing an episode of that. Yeah. And there was this actor there called Rhys Thomas, who's a big Doctor Who fan. And I was talking to him about the fact I hadn't heard from Tom. And I said the only other thing I could possibly do is I could have us phoning up, and it goes to answer machine, and we just use that clip of Sharda from the Five Doctors. And he said, I think that's a better joke. So after that, we just didn't bother about whether Tom got back in touch with us or not. We just used that joke and got John Culshaw in to do his impression of Tom, which was great.
Yeah. I'm aware that time is Easter's.
Oh.
But I wanted to ask you.
They say this happens, don't they? They say time goes by. But yes, I know that people.
Can we take one more question?
Say goodbye.
Yes.
We can take one more question.
Oh, one more question. Better make it good.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Who's your favourite guest star during your time on Doctor Who?
Oh Lord, that's a terrible question. No, I don't know actually. Who's my favourite guest star?
Was there anybody that, you probably can't answer this, was there anybody that came in that was very difficult? Were there people that came in that were...
No, I tell you the funniest was Peter Wingard.
Yeah.
He was the funniest, but I tell you about Peter Wingard's story. Actually, he was almost my favourite. He came in because they sent him the script. Peter Wingard, you probably might know him from Department S, and the Jason King series. Yeah, big ties, big moustache. Anyway, he hadn't worked for some time. He'd really been sort of out on his own. What? Sorry. Oh, no. I know, I was not. I won't miss it. It's fine. I'll be 6. It's fine. But sorry, I'll just give you one. Let me just my Peter Wingard strike, because I quite like it. So anyway, so they sent the script to Peter Wingard. Bearing in mind, he hadn't worked for about 15 years, not a job. So they sent him the script, and his agent came back to John Nathan Turner, and they thought about it, and then he said, yes, Peter will consider doing this part, as long as he can play it old. And John Nathan Turner said to me, he is old, isn't he? So Peter Wingard came in for the rehearsal, and he spent the rehearsal. We filmed it in Lanzarote, so we had 5 days rehearsal. And Peter Wingard came in playing the part like this, oh doctor, oh, like that. So we had no costume, because all the costume had been sent out to Lanzarote. So we finished rehearsal, we went out to Lanzarote, and apparently I wasn't aware of this. So Peter Wingard went to costume to have his costume put on, and it was like a kind of Lawrence of Arabia outfit. They put it on him, and he obviously looked in the mirror after they put him in this costume and thought, no, I can still do it. So when we came to film the next day, I was expecting this guy to come on and go, hello, doctor, how are you? And he'd go, hello, doctor, how are you? And he did the entire performance like that. And there was all this racket as well, and the sound department kept complaining about it. They said, what's that noise? Could we just put carpet down and stop them? Turned out he was wearing clogs with high heels like that, because he wanted to be taller. And he dyed his hair black. He somehow managed to get this sort of hair dye. So it's an extraordinary transformation I've ever seen in my life. But he was wonderfully funny. He was terrific. And he's the only person in the entire film who hired a car when we were in Lanzarote. And he lent it to these 2 young kids who were on the show. And they managed to roll it down a mountain and virtually destroy it. And they then had to go and tell Peter Wingard what they'd done. They were terrified. And they told him, and he said, oh, that's all right, my boy, no worries. And so he drove it back to the rental thing. And he said, I've never hired a car in such a terrible condition as the one you hired. And he just left it. That's on the rental place. That's the end of it. All right. Okay. All right, sorry.
Mr. Peter Davison, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.